I've just downgraded my M240i. I've gone from 19-inch M Performance alloys down to 18-inch. And if you think that's a downgrade, then stick around because this video is just for you. Because serious track guys, people who have M cars, M240is, etc., they don't run the 18s for a fast road setup. They run the 18s, and there's logic behind it. So before we actually dive into the reason behind this video, I think you guys have waited long enough. Let me show you the brand new 18-inch alloys on my M240i. So there we have it, the big reveal. These are my 763M style M Performance alloys in gunmetal grey. And just let you guys know, these wheels, they're not done. There's a temporary fitment. We've got spacers coming and another very focused track modification coming. So you guys don't want to miss that. I'll give you guys a sneak peek. If there's one thing you want to fit to a BMW that they don't come with, you're looking at it right now. So comment below what you think it might be. Now, if you have been following the channel for a while, you'll know that I'm taking a slight different turn with my manual M240i. We're going for a slight track focused build on this thing. And if you guys have been following or you are subscribed to the channel, you'll know that we fitted the Cooler Work shifter to this manual M240i, and this thing is incredible. Let me show you guys a little sneak peek of how this thing feels and sounds like. We're in neutral right now. This is first gear. All the way to second. It's so short. Now that short shifter that Cooler Works have made, it's really good. However, it's not really the first modification you want to do when you want to make a car handle better. But before power mods and before aero and before any mods that are really expensive, wheels and tyres, they're the biggest difference that can make a car handle better. And today I'm going to explain to you guys why I ditched my 19-inch alloys, which you'll see on screen right now, to these 18-inch gunmetal grey 763M alloys. And I didn't just do it for the aesthetics and the looks. I did do it because there is logic behind all of this madness when downsizing the wheel size. Now that the big reveal is done on the tyres, we're going to get to the actual parts of fitting them and me showing you the brand new alloys out of the box, because these were very kindly supplied by B58 Bible, and honestly, the wheels are unmatched. I love them to bits. And now that you guys have seen them, because I wanted to show you guys first before we unbox them and everything, we'll cut back to yesterday when I was getting these tyres ready, unboxed, and also the wheels unboxed. And we'll have a look to see what these things look like when they're brand new. Because right now, even though they are technically brand new, because they're gunmetal grey, they hide the colour quite well. And these things look even better when they are brand new. They're a little bit dirty right now. And we've gone back in time to me actually unboxing these brand new alloys. We've gone for the gunmetal grey, as I've already explained to you guys. Here are my original hypergloss silver 19s. They were a little bit dirty, so they do look better when they are clean. But yeah, let's get straight to unboxing these brand new alloys. I was kind of shocked with the amount of tape that would be on these, and good job I fast forwarded it, otherwise you guys would be watching me unbox these and struggle for quite some time. But we got there in the end. It took me a while to unbox all 4 wheels, but it's a very satisfying process as I've never bought brand new alloys before. And here's the cool moment where we actually get to see the brand new alloy in all of its glory. These things just looked incredible, and you can see that kind of center cap there. That is really cool because it comes with these brand new BMW logos, the M logo and the actual BMW emblem, which just sticks on. So we've still got them to actually fit and install them onto the alloys. Now we're going to take a little look at the tyres as soon as we've seen all these wheels in all their glory. This is the original pair compared to the 18s. You can see the size difference. It was quite hard to match up, but there is a significant size difference between the two, the 18s compared to the 19s, and I actually prefer the styling of the 18s. It seems like a more aggressive styling compared to the 19s, even though they're a similar shape. Now putting the alloys back in the box, ready to get them installed. We've also got brand new tyre pressure sensors. This was kind of something I did need because otherwise you get the error on the dash and it doesn't really look too good. So for the sake of brand new ones, it's always worth it. They just plug in on your valves, which is quite simple. Now looking at the tyres, the grand reveal, the square setup of the 763M Sports. These are made by Accelera. They are a semi-stick compound, which I was using last year. If you guys are familiar with the channel, these are some budget accelerators that I put on the 19s purely for drifting and doing donuts. So kind of won't be doing that with these semi-slicks because I actually want to use them for some fast road driving. That's the tyres and the wheels unboxing. Let's get back to the video. Now this next part of the video may seem a little bit complicated. I'll try to explain it in the simplest way I possibly can. We're going to be talking about unsprung mass, and this is a very crucial part when it comes to tyres and wheels. Now your wheels, your tyres, your brakes, they all add to unsprung mass. And in simple terms, heavier wheels makes the suspension work harder. And a general rule of thumb, 18-inch alloys are generally lighter than 19-inch alloys. And these particular alloys on the car right now, they're 8 kilograms lighter than the original alloys this M240i came with from factory. And here's the kicker. When you reduce unsprung mass, the suspension reacts quicker. And that means better grip on uneven surfaces, which is crucial in the UK. Now, when we talk about a 19-inch alloy, that alloy is bigger than an 18-inch. So when that wheel is actually fitted to the car, it requires more torque to actually get that wheel to turn. And then the exact same is for braking. When you come to brake, you need to brake harder to actually get that wheel to slow down compared to 18s. So technically, 18s can accelerate and decelerate quicker than 19s could, even if the difference is very, very small. We've talked very briefly about the actual alloys on these cars, but tyres are probably the most important thing that you can fit onto a vehicle. They are the only thing that's connecting you to the ground. So in my mind, they're the best thing to invest money in and buy quality. And while we talk about tyres, we're going to be mentioning the size that I've gone for and also the profile, because these two things play a massive part in how a car handles and how hard you can push it. Now, some of you are probably going to be quite surprised to hear that I'm running a 235 square setup on this car. Now, that's 235 with a profile of 14 on an 18-inch alloy. But here's the catch again. If you know anything about semi-slicks, they're a very square tyre, so they actually look thicker than an equivalent Michelin or Goodyear, for example, because there's less curvature on the actual sidewall of the tyre. So theoretically, you could say that these could look like or could pass as a 245, even though they are 235 in width. Now, before we actually talk about what tyres I fitted onto the M240i, we're going to have to talk a little bit about sidewall, because some of you might be shocked that I've gone for a 40 profile sidewall on these alloys. So let's explain briefly, because you guys are probably thinking, well, a taller sidewall flexes more when you're pushing it, and that's obviously not going to make the car handle very well. Well, you would be right, but you'd also be wrong. For example, as we're running a 40 profile on these tyres compared to the 35 I was running on the 19-inch alloys, we've got a lot more compliance when it comes to actually driving the car. The car goes over bumps and imperfections in the road, and obviously if you're hitting curbs on track or anything like that, it's going to absorb those imperfections better than a smaller sidewall would. And if you're like me and you watch a lot of Nürburgring content where people drive these type of cars on track a lot, you'll notice that almost every kind of track setup car is running a 40 profile tyre, whether that be semi-slicks or just a general road tyre. They've always got that 40 profile instead of the 30 or 35. So I had to see what all the hype was about. I haven't run a 40 profile tyre before. I've always run 35s on every single car I've owned pretty much. So we'll give it a good test this year and see what it's really got to offer. Now, tyres. I mentioned in this exact spot earlier that tyres are the only thing connecting you to the ground, and arguably they're the most important part that you can fit onto a car. So that asks the question, what tyres are we actually running on the car? I've talked about the tyre sizes, but you guys might have noticed we've got a fan favourite tyre here, the Accelera 651 Sports. Now they're a semi-slick compound, and I found them incredibly grippy last year, especially when the road temperatures get hot and the air temperature's hot and you get a bit of heat in these. The grip was phenomenal and I was very impressed. Now yes, they are your budget semi-slick. There are many more semi-slick brands up there like Nankang, etc., which are arguably better. But as a little bit of feedback, I was running these around the Nürburgring last summer and I got these tyre temperatures up to about 70 degrees Celsius and they were incredibly sticky. So I thought for the price, I'll give them another shot. And if worse comes to worse, if they're not as good as I hoped, we've got an 18-inch alloy now, so buying tyres is a little bit cheaper than it was with the 19s. And just to wrap up this subject on tyres, another reason I went for 18s is the tyre cost. These Acceleras, they're not that expensive, but there is quite a price difference between going to the 18s and the 19s. That price jump just increases ever so much. And as you know, with track use, tyres are good, but they don't last forever and you will use them. So running 18s technically gives you a lot more budget to play with. You can spend more on tyres and you can do more track laps because you can use them more because they're not so expensive to replace. And if you guys know anything about these tyres, you'll know that they just don't wear. Many professional drifters use these. For example, take Castle Combe, which is a UK racetrack. They do drift events there, and nearly every high horsepower car, we're talking 900, some 1,000 horsepower, use these tyres because they just don't wear out compared to other semi-slicks, for example. So for the price, they're a very good, budget-friendly, long-lasting semi-slick compound. Now, I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. Why did I ditch a staggered setup on the M240i? Now, some of you actually might have been shocked to think that I went to a square setup and downgraded technically from a staggered setup that comes with the M240i. Let's talk very briefly about what staggered setup I was running on this car. Now previously with the 19-inch alloys, we were running 235 35 19s on the front and 255 35 19s on the rear. So why did I go for a square setup? Well, a square setup is just generally better for fast road and track use. It's less understeery. A square tyre setup allows more tyre rotation, and it also doesn't understeer as much. BMW engineered these cars to technically understeer from factory. It's safer. So when you actually get rid of the staggered setup, you definitely improve your front end grip. Before we get into the final part of this video about why I chose this type of alloy, and also why I went for the colour that I did, we need to talk about one more thing. And for this part, we need to hop inside the car. Because the next part we're talking about is this thing right here. The steering wheel feel difference between the 19-inch alloys and the 18s. Now this part is a little bit weird to me and I don't fully understand how it works. But this steering wheel is not an M car. So for example, when you go in sport mode in these M lights, the steering wheel tightens. When I had 19-inch alloys on, it made no difference. The steering was so light with those alloys on, it felt like I was driving just an everyday basic car, even with the sport mode enabled. And I knew from my previous N55 car, which was my M235i, with 18-inch alloys, the steering was heavier. Now, again, I've converted this car down to 18-inch alloys, and the same thing's happened. The steering wheel has gone heavier again. Not too heavy, but just in a nice place, so that when you're on track or when you're having some fast road driving, for example, you're getting that feedback, which is really nice. But to wrap up this video, we need to talk about the colour of these alloys and why I went for this colour in the first place. Now, like I mentioned, I got these alloys from B58 Bible, and they've been amazing. They're the best alloy I would personally put on this car. But you guys may not think it, but there is a method behind my madness of why I went for the same style and why I went for the colour. And yes, like I said, these wheels aren't finished. We've still got some little M logos to go here, and we've got another few modifications going on these, which you guys are going to have to stay tuned for to see. Now, originally, when I bought this car, it came with black 763M alloys in the 19s. Now, I personally didn't like the black, so I had them sprayed and refurbished in hypergloss silver. Now, this was good, and they looked amazing. However, if you guys are a keen viewer of my channel, you'll notice that my discs used to have J-hooks in them, or C-hooks, whatever you like to call them, and right now I don't. There is a reason behind this. I run some serious pads and discs on this car when it comes to actually pushing the car, and the brake dust with the hypergloss silver was ridiculous. So what did I do? I went back to my original Brembo pads and Brembo discs on the car all round. This significantly reduced the brake dust that was happening. Now, given when I actually go back on track, I'll be swapping the brakes back over to the more aggressive setup that is much better for braking, handles the heat better, etc. And I'll have to deal with the brake dust. But that leads us in nicely to why I chose this colour. The gunmetal grey, it hides the brake dust well. Now, for example, these wheels are dirty. Like I mentioned, you can already see the brake dust that has already formed on these alloys, but it doesn't show it too badly. The alloys still look really good and they still look clean. So that's why I went for the gunmetal grey colour. But why did I go for the same style when I already had that on the previous car? Personally, I just love this style. It's a fan favourite of mine. I wouldn't really want to go for any other style. I saw many other ideas with many spokes, and I personally just thought that would be a pain to clean. Whereas these, they're not too bad. They do the job, they look good, and I like them. Now, the slight downside to these alloys is a lot of M lights and a lot of M140i's, 240i's, etc. run them. That's a little bit of a downside because they're a very popular alloy. However, I like them and I was a big fan of them. That's why I've kept them on the car. But there we have it. That's why I went from 19-inch alloys down to 18-inch. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. You'll have to let me know if you think I made a wise decision. Have I downgraded or have I done a proper modification, something which is actually going to benefit the car more and make it handle better and drive better and maybe set some faster laps? Let me know in the comment section. Apart from that, I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, you can give the video a like so more people can see it, and you can also subscribe so you don't miss any of the future upcoming track content and modifications that we are doing to my M240i. Apart from that, thank you guys so much for watching today. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.